Welcome to Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story, where we answer the questions you have about your favorite classic authors. What inspired your favorite author to write their novels? What was going on in the world at the time? Follow along with us as we tell you what was happening in the world while your favorite authors wrote your favorite classics. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read, and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. If you enjoy our show, be sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. You can find us on all the social medias at Bite at a Time Books or on our website, biteatatimebooksbehindthestory.com, where you can also sign up for our newsletter for more information on who we're talking about and what's coming next for the podcasts. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear a book by the author we are currently featuring, check out the Bite at a Time Books podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be talking about the literary career of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes. Doyle initially struggled to find a publisher. His first work, featuring Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, A Study in Scarlet, was written in 3 weeks when he was 27, and was accepted for publication by Wardlock & Co. on 20 November 1886, which gave Doyle £25, equivalent to £3,500 in 2023, in exchange for all rights to the story. The piece appeared a year later in the Beaton's Christmas Annual, and received good reviews in the Scotsman and the Glasgow Herald. Holmes was partially modeled on Doyle's former university teacher, Joseph Bell. In 1892, in a letter to Bell, Doyle wrote, "It is most certainly to you that I owe Sherlock Holmes. Round the center of deduction and inference and observation which I have heard you inculcate, I have tried to build up a man." And in his 1924 autobiography, he remarked, "It is no wonder that after the study of such a character, I used and amplified his methods when in later life I tried to build up a scientific detective who solved cases on his own merits and not through the folly of the criminal." Robert Louis Stevenson was able to recognize a strong similarity between Joseph Bell and Sherlock Holmes. "My compliments on your very ingenious and very interesting adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Can this be my old friend, Joe Bell?" Other authors sometimes suggest additional influences. For instance, Edgar Allan Poe's character C. Auguste Dupin, who is mentioned disparagingly by Holmes in A Study in Scarlet. Dr. John Watson owes his surname, but not any other obvious characteristic, to a Portsmouth medical colleague of Doyle's, Dr. James Watson. A sequel to A Study in Scarlet was commissioned, and The Sign of the Four appeared in Lippincott's magazine in February 1890, under agreement with the Wardlock Company. Doyle felt grievously exploited by Wardlock as an author new to the publishing world, and so after this he left them. Short stories featuring Sherlock Holmes were published in the Strand magazine. Doyle wrote the first 5 Holmes short stories from his office at 2 Devonshire Place. Doyle's attitude towards his most famous creation was ambivalent. In November 1891, he wrote to his mother, "I think of slaying Holmes and winding him up for good and all. He takes my mind from better things." His mother responded, "You won't, you can't, you mustn't." In an attempt to deflect publishers' demands for more Holmes stories, he raised his price to a level intended to discourage them, but found they were willing to pay even the large sums he asked. As a result, he became one of the best-paid authors of his time. In December 1893, to dedicate more of his time to his historical novels, Doyle had Holmes and Professor Moriarty plunge to their deaths together down the Rhinebeck Falls in the story The Final Problem. Public outcry, however, led him to feature Holmes in 1901 in the novel The Hound of the Baskervilles. Holmes's fictional connection with the Reichenbach Falls is celebrated in the nearby town of Meiringen. In 1903, Doyle published his first Holmes short story in 10 years, The Adventure of the Empty House, in which it was explained that only Moriarty had fallen. But since Holmes had other dangerous enemies, especially Colonel Sebastian Moran, he had arranged to make it look as if he too were dead. Holmes was ultimately featured in a total of 56 short stories, the last published in 1927, and 4 novels by Doyle, and has since appeared in many novels and stories by other authors. Other works. Doyle's first novels were The Mystery of Clomber, not published until 1888, and the unfinished Narrative of John Smith, published only posthumously in 2011. He amassed a portfolio of short stories, including The Captain of the Pole Star and J. Habakkuk, Jeffson's Statement, both inspired by Doyle's time at sea. The latter popularized the mystery of the Mary Celeste and added fictional details, such as that the ship was found in perfect condition. It had actually taken on water by the time it was discovered, and that its boats remained on board. The single boat was in fact missing. These fictional details have come to dominate popular accounts of the incident, and Doyle's alternative spelling of the ship's name as Marie Celeste has become more commonly used than the original spelling. Between 1888 and 1906, Doyle wrote 7 historical novels, which he and many critics regarded as his best work. He also wrote 9 other novels, and later in his career, 1912 to 29, 5 narratives, 3 of novel or novella length, featuring the irascible scientist Professor Challenger. The Challenger stories include his best-known work after the Holmes oeuvre, The Lost World. His historical novels include The White Company and its prequel, Sir Nigel, set in the Middle Ages. He was a prolific author of short stories, including 2 collections set in Napoleonic times, and featuring the French character Brigadier Gerard. Doyle's works for the stage include Waterloo, which centers on the reminiscences of an English veteran of the Napoleonic Wars, and features a character, Gregory Brewster, written for Henry Irving. The House of Temperley, the plot of which reflects his abiding interest in boxing. The Speckled Band, adapted from his earlier short story, The Adventure of the Speckled Band, and an 1893 collaboration with J.M. Barrie on the libretto of Jane Annie. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story today, while we answered some of the questions you have about one of your favorite classic authors. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you join us next time when we answer more questions about one of your favorite classic authors. If you enjoyed our show, be sure to follow us so you get all the new episodes. We would also love for you to drop us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. You can catch us on all the social medias at Bite at a Time Books, or check out our website, biteatatimebooksbehindthestory.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter. Our show is part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you would also like to hear a story by the author we are currently featuring, check out the Bite at a Time Books podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, or on biteatatimebooks.com.